Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are back with another episode. I know it's been a while. We missed you guys. I know you missed us, but we are back with another episode. This is Culture Shock. I couldn't do it alone. I got my dog Landon with me. Landon, how we doing tonight?
Man, doing good. Still recovering from vacation. I've been down in Florida for like 10 days, down in Southeast Florida, the Keys, Miami, South Beach, West Palm Springs, like it, you know. But it was nice. It was good to be down there. Free agency kicked off when I was down there. And instead of getting stressed about what's happening, I just went to the beach and I just, lived life and relaxed and kind of disconnected. So it was good, man.
I love it, man. I love Florida. I love going down there. I'm down there all the time. I said to you, like that's like my second homeland. I know the back roads of Florida more than I know where I live at now, which is crazy. But that's just how life is and how it turned out to be. But we got a show for you guys today. Appreciate all you guys for rolling in. I see the numbers going up. Appreciate you guys. Let's go ahead and hop into it. We got a long list of free agents, re-signs, and bringing the Colts players back home, but we did lose some in the process as well. So if you guys aren't up to date, we're going to let you know now, and we're going to give you the contract numbers as well. We're going to start off with Michael Pittman Jr. Of course, that's the first name we got to get done. Michael Pittman Jr. is back in Indianapolis for 3 years, looking like a $70 million contract. Michael Pittman Jr. is a question that we had on the radar all season. We was trying to figure out because at the beginning of the offseason they talked about how he was going to talk to other teams and how he wanted to express his thoughts out there and just to see what the offers look like. But the Colts didn't waste no time. They got the job done. They bought him back. He's here for 3 years, and we're going to get some continuity finally with a quarterback and wide receiver duo that can build for years to come. So I'm excited. Happy they got the deal done. What are your thoughts on this situation?
Yeah, well, I mean, it was pretty obvious once that franchise tag happened that he wasn't going to go anywhere, at least not this year. And then, of course, the franchise tag was basically just used as an extension to get that long term deal done, which everybody kind of expected. So, yeah, it wasn't surprising at all. I mean, this guy is like the epitome of what you want in your building. I mean, from the intensity, the preparation, the production, the leadership. I mean, like this, that's a type of guy that you don't let him walk out the door. And the Colts didn't. And now he's here, presumably for the long run. And it's a good deal for him too, because this TV money, the cap, it's only going to continue to rise, and it allows him to cash into another contract before he's 30 years old. So his next contract, he'll be 29, still able to cash into another long-term deal, secure more funds for him. So it's just the best of both worlds for both parties here. And, he's kind of set his roots here, and, he's kind of talked about that. But yeah, we're excited to have him back. I'm excited, and yeah, ready for more Michael Pittman Jr. and Anthony Richardson stepbrothers stuff going on.
Absolutely, absolutely, man. I can't wait to see it. They dropped the Anthony Richardson video earlier. I don't know if you've seen that him playing basketball. Dude's a freak of nature. But that's something we knew already on the football field. But moving forward, we brought back another guy of ours, Zaire Franklin. Got his contract extended, 3 years, 31.26 mil. This is not out of the pocket free agent signing. I know people want players from other teams to come to Indy, but this shows continuity towards the roster, and this is something we both talked about all the time. Having that same roster, same staff out there, building the chemistry and things of that nature. I was excited to see this contract extension. I wasn't expecting it either, but it's good to keep Zaire back. Like I say, he's one of the best players, if not the best player out there on the field. Of course, people have their own favorites, but Zaire is definitely one of my favorites. Started from the ground up from special teams to where he is now. Super, super duper proud of him. An awesome accomplishment. And it's good to have him back for 3 more years.
Yeah, I mean, and this is a dude, like, he wasn't a free agent this year, but he was going into the last year of his contract, next season. And so they wanted to get that deal done sooner rather than later. And I mean, to be frank, this guy, like, I mean, he's outplayed his current deal. Like, he knew that he wanted to be rewarded for his play. The Colts wanted to reward him for his play. It's another guy similar to Michael Pittman Jr. that, you know, he's this is all he's known. His roots are here with the Colts. He started, like you said, from the bottom Now he's here. Started from the bottom. Now we're here, and he he epitomizes the same as Michael Pittman. Everything you want in a guy for your franchise. He's a leader in the locker room. He's one of the best trash talkers in the league. Like you love a guy like that that just gets after it and keeps going. And it's great to have him on the field. And the fact that he's also led the league in tackles, multiple times now. Or well, it might have been once, but I know he broke the franchise record last year. I think he might have had even more tackles this year. So I mean, this dude, he gets after it on the field. He's great in the locker room, beloved by the city and the fans. And yeah, it's they wanted to get that deal done. And I'm glad they did. So he's coming back.
Absolutely. Shout out to the 80 people in here. We appreciate you guys. Don't forget to like, follow all our platforms. We're live on YouTube. We're live on X app, Spotify, all those things. Follow us on all platforms. We appreciate your support. Let's keep going down the list. We did bring back another guy, and I think this was super important. Your guy right here, Grover Stewart, decided to come back. 3-year deal, 39 mil. We locked him in. That was an awesome signing. I know Colts fans was ecstatic when this deal was notified and put out there in the social media world because we love Grover Stewart. Besides everything that happened last year and everything, he's shown how important he is to this roster. We know how important he is, the ultimate run stopper, ultimate competitor, and we got Grover Wings back for 3 more years. Who doesn't love Grover Wings? But appreciate him for coming back for sure. What's your thoughts on the Grover Stewart signing?
Yeah, well, I mean, look, we saw what this looked like without Grover. We saw it in real time last year, what things looked like without this guy. And people can get angry about, the re signings and not bringing in new guys, and I get that. But the Colts signed one of the top wide receivers on the market, probably the best nose tackle outside of maybe, Christian Wilkins, who got $100-something million. Like he got a massive deal. Um, but Grover Stewart, one of the best nose tackle, run stuffing defensive linemen in football. So the Colts got him back, and then they got another guy who's one of the better guys in the league in the back end as well. They re-signed, which we'll talk about here in a minute. So I mean, it's not like they're just going out there and they're re-signing guys who have been scrubs. These are some of the top players, not only on this team, but these are some of the top players in the league at their positions, and they would have been the top players on the market. And Grover had a lot of interest. The same, with Kenny. And if Michael hit the market or whatever, he was going to have a ton of interest. Like that's why they franchise tagged him. Like this wasn't just something that only the Colts were interested in getting these guys. They had a ton of interest throughout the league, and to bring those guys back, I mean, I think it's a testament not only to what they mean to this organization, but what this organization means to them, the fact that they would rather be back here and continue on this path together as opposed to, just chasing the bag and kind of getting, more money and going somewhere new and all that. So it's usually whenever you're able to re-sign your guys like this, and especially at this rate, it's really a testament to the culture that's inside of the building. And I know that hasn't really translated to winning the division, winning playoff games. That's everybody's argument. We can get into that, at some other point. But this is a very close, tight knit group. This is a family, and they want to be there and continue this climb together. And I think that speaks volumes. And Grover's just another one that, whenever he's out there on the field, we see his impact, and we see it when he's not. And that's a guy you need back.
Absolutely, 100%. We seen that last year when he was gone. It was really bad. It was really really bad. But when he came back, he was a sudden impact. It's good to have Grover back and still in the Colts jersey because I could not see him any other place, man. It's just got to be in that Indy blue. Has to be. Has to be. Has to be. Another guy we bought back that had a little bit of mixed feelings. I don't know if you've seen it or not, but it is social media, especially when it comes to Colts fans. No disrespect, Colts fans. We love you dearly, but Tyquan Lewis is back. 2 years, $12 million deal. Tyquan Lewis, of course, battling injury, but he has came back, and I did think he was a very impactful player. He was one of those guys, a special piece on that unit that a lot of people don't talk about, underrated too. I think he's going to have a really good season next year. That's just my bold prediction before we get into the videos and everything we'll talk about later in the future. But I do think Taekwon's going to have a very big impact next year, and he does make an impact when he is on the field. Bringing him back, even though everything he's been through so far injury wise, I think he's a very special piece to that unit, and it's good to have him back for sure. And the deal he got wasn't really hurting the pockets. I think it's a really good quality deal, and it's something to look forward to seeing. And it's good to have Taekwon back, especially after everything he's been through. What's your thoughts on Taekwon?
Yeah, well, I mean, really, the only concern was just the injuries, and you know, if he hadn't had the injuries, who knows where he would be at right now? Because this guy, when he is on the field, he's been a very productive player for this defensive line for this team. Um, Makes a huge impact on third down, stopping the run, but he's really underrated as a pass rusher. And like I said, I think the injuries kind of stunted the growth a little bit for him. The fact that because they were both major injuries and back to back seasons. So I think, last year with him being healthy and being out there, and it coincided with them breaking the franchise sack record as well. This guy is very important in the rotation. And I mean, you've heard Chris Ballard say it. You'll hear anybody that knows a lot of football. You'll hear them talk about it. Like you need to be able to go like 7, 8, maybe 9 guys deep along that defensive line rotation. Like you need to be able to throw out multiple guys out there in multiple situations and keep everybody fresh. And he plays a huge role in that. The fact that you can throw a guy like that out there and have him play really good football and not really see a lot of drop off, and it allows everybody to stay fresh. So I think that's a really underrated signing. I know he's another guy that there was some interest around the league, to get him in other teams' buildings, and he decided to come back here and continue his career as a Colt. And that's, it's really exciting. And I'm excited to see the future going forward. Now, 2 years removed from that major injury, I'm hoping he can stay healthy and continue that growth because I think we still have yet to really tap into what he can really be whenever he hits the peak.
Oh, I agree 100%. I agree 100%. So we got two more signings of players coming back for Indy. Re-signing wise, then we're going to get into the new signee that wasn't from Indy that I think is a very superb move. Then I'm pretty sure you're going to go more in depth to it. The two guys that we happened to extend re-sign wise was, of course, Rigoberto Sanchez, the punter. Another guy who's battled injury, but I still think he's one of the best punters in the league. A lot of people don't like to talk about special teams, but I think Rigoberto is definitely very good at his craft. He's amazing, an awesome talent. It's good to have in the locker room as well. Rigoberto signed back for 3 years, 7.5 mil, and we can tag team this one. So Rigoberto and then Kenny Moore is back. He's the highest paid nickel corner. Kenny Moore is a guy all Colts fans wanted to keep in Indy, and he's a dog. And I think last year he took an amazing step up after the season before with a little step back with the new system and everything being used all over the field. But him just being in his position and doing what he does best is awesome. So he came back 3 years, 30 mil, highest paid nickel corner. Definitely a piece that we need on the roster. He's shown it last year, even the year before, after the confusion of the season before, with everybody was just playing awful. But I think he took a huge step up last year, and he was very impactful and one of the best out there on the defensive side. So let me get your thoughts on Rigoberto and Kenny Moore.
Yeah, Rio, like I believe he was the only punter in the league last year that had 0 touchbacks, which is a really big he also had the highest net punt average of his career as well. So he's, a year removed from their injury. I think you're going to see now 2 years removed from that Achilles tear. He's probably going to be even better this year. Um, he's one of the most crucial pieces on special teams, and it's not easy, to just go out and sign a punter. And everybody thinks it's just, one of those things where you can just get a punter anywhere. Like, I mean, they play a really crucial role, in flipping field position and stuff like that. And he's done it as well as anybody, in his time in the league. And to get a guy like that back is really, really important. So glad he's coming back as well. And of course, Kmo. I mean, what is there to be said that hasn't already been said about this dude? Like this, I mean, not only just one of like nickel cover guys, but I mean, he's one of the best DBs in football, period. Like, I think to me, there's there's an argument for a couple guys, but to me, like he is the single best, nickel corner in football with what he's able to do in coverage. He's so sticky in coverage. He doesn't allow much separation at all. And then you add in, the blitz packages, his tackling ability, what he brings to the locker room and the energy that he brings to the field and the leadership. I mean, that this one was my single biggest worry of all the guys that with the state of this cornerback room, with as young it is as it is, and we've all seen it online over the last week or so, like how just it's worrisome. And I was so terrified that if we lost Kenny Moore, that this coming up season it was going to end up being a bloodbath. And while I still have quite a few question marks in that back end, like I know now that at least there's one to two solid positions in that corner room that I'm very bullish on, like with Juju Brents, if he can stay healthy now, he goes through a full off season, which he didn't get to do last year, and continue his growth. And Kenny Moore, I'm not really concerned with those two guys at all. And yeah, I'm so thankful that Kenny's back. That was like my biggest worry this offseason. It was like, we cannot afford to lose Kenny Moore. And there were quite a few teams that were in the bidding for his services and might have even, offered a little bit more money. Because he was only the highest paid nickel corner in the league for like a few days. And then I believe it got beat out. But, you know, I'm just so thankful he's back. And it seems like all these 3-year contracts, it seems like that's going to be like the window. Is they're really going for this like 3-year push, with Anthony Richardson. And they all kind of coincide almost directly with him going in to his 5th-year option. Um, on whether they want to pick that up. So it seems to be like, this regime, the Chris Ballard era, like you've got 3 years, to compete and turn this team into, a contender, not just for the division. I think the division is where it starts, but not just for the division, but for, I mean, a Super Bowl. This is it. So you've got 3 years, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, 100%. And a lot of players have the division, winning the division on their mindset because
Hmm.
they know how many seasons it's been through. I know Zaire spoke about the division and things of that nature too. So a lot of players knows what's at stake and knows what needs to be done, and that's the stepping stone, to starting a dynasty run, winning a division that hasn't been won for the Colts in multiple seasons. So a lot of players know what they got to do and get the job done. So kudos to them. Shout out to Kenny Moore for staying home. Another guy we bought in that wasn't on the Colts roster already was Raekwon Davis. Raekwon Davis was signed, pretty much another Grover Stewart, 2 years, $14 million deal. A little bit lenient, a little bit shorter. I think he's very athletic as well. Ballard loves athletic players, so Raekwon definitely. I've seen a stat comparison. Him and Grover Stewart is pretty much identical, but I think he got more hurries and pressures when it comes to those numbers. But what was your thoughts on the Raekwon Davis signing?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think this kind of coincides with one more re-signing that we didn't talk about, and that was the Taven Bryan coming back on that 1-year deal. Because and this is no offense to Taven, this was kind of on the coaching staff more than
Yeah, I was
me.
going to order.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, like this was really like that. They had to throw him out there almost out of necessity at the one tech or nose tackle position, and he is not designed to be that guy. And they didn't have that guy on the roster. And like we said earlier when we were talking about Grover, like once Grover, had the suspension and he was gone, we saw this defensive line almost collapse. And I think, a lot of fans were, not really excited about that, which I know, like I said, I'm gonna turn this light on real quick. Um, Sorry, I got my partner in crime with me here.
I see you
Uh,
do. I see you. He's like, turn the light on.
yeah, yeah, she's just chilling.
Aw, just chilling, hanging
She's
out.
just chilling. Yeah. But it's one of those things where it was almost out of necessity. They had to bring Taven Bryan back, or they had to play Taven Bryan there, and that's not really what he does. He's much more of that, shoot the gap, quick pass rusher guy. He's not a guy built to play nose tackle, and they didn't have that guy on the roster. And like I was saying, a lot of fans they get kind of upset because they're like, really, like another defensive tackle? Like, why do we need this guy? Just watch the film, watch the games last year. You see why we need this guy, because um, he might be the difference. If if Buckner or heaven forbid Buckner or Grover go down for any length of time, like they didn't have that guy on the roster, and now they do. And he's a guy that is coming out of Alabama. He's got a big pedigree. He's got a lot of untapped potential still. I think. I think there's a lot more to work with. With him as far as a defensive tackle. So I think those three guys form a really formidable duo or trio there in the interior of that line. And I think also like you were saying, he's got a little bit more of a wiggle and pass rush to him as well. I think, as Buck is getting older, I think Buck's, coming up, he's, going to be 30 years old this year, or close to it. And you don't really want to play that guy 100% of snaps like you have over the last few years. You really kind of want to monitor his usage moving forward to keep him fresh and all that. And he's a guy that now allows you to, pair him and Grover on early downs, on running downs, and kind of have Buckner in, still the majority game. You never want to take great players like to force Buckner off the field, but he does allow you to kind of keep him a little bit more fresh as the season progresses on. And so I think that's a really crucial signing for them.
Absolutely, absolutely. Like I said, I love this signing. I remember last year I had something like I was campaigning for a Taven Bryan run, and everybody was like, Taven Bryan? I mean, but he could be a very pivotal piece of just on how you play him. So, and Davis definitely helps him. Um, so we can see how that's going to look moving forward. We're just going to go over two players we did lose in the free agency season real quick before we go back to the re-signings. Gardner Minshew to the Raiders, 2 years, $25 million deal. Gardner Minshew was a Pro Bowler last year. Shout out to Shane Steichen. Come on, you gotta give some. Come on. So shout out to Shane Steichen. Gardner Minshew being a Pro Bowl nod. He had a Pro Bowl season. Almost pushed the Colts to the playoffs. They just was 1 yard short. It is what it is. Take it with a grain of salt. But I think Gardner Minshew for the roller coaster season he had. Congratulations for getting the deal done. He went out there and did what he had to do. Got his money. Wish you the best of luck in Vegas. Hope you don't run into Indy. But it is what it is at the end of the day. I love Uncle Rico. And we're going to talk about who we got as a return after these next two players. But what was your thoughts on Gardner Minshew and going to the Ravens? He has a number one wide
Yeah.
receiver, by the way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's, that was kind of like the perfect scenario for him last year, where I think that's really kind of what he was looking for was, you never want Anthony Richardson to go down. Like, preferably, we'd never wanted to see Gardner Minshew last year. Like, that was the goal. Unfortunately, it didn't work out like that. So we got to see a lot of Gardner Minshew last year. And like you're saying, he's a guy that came in, he did his job, he led the team to a winning record. They were close, to getting that division done and hitting the playoffs. They didn't quite make it, but I think that was a perfect spot for Gardner Minshew, where he came in, could showcase what he could do, and go and sign a bigger deal somewhere else. And um, he did that, and he got his money, and we're excited for him. I've loved him since he even played in Jacksonville, even when he was shredding the Colts and completing 90% of his passes because we just played soft coverage, which we still do. Um, get on a tangent, but
I
yeah,
know, I know.
I've always been a big fan of him. I love the way he carries himself. He just plays so loose and so free out on the field. And yeah, we're excited that we were able to provide him with a chance to go get a bigger bag and possibly complete or compete for another starting job out there in Las Vegas.
100%. He was a rock star, man. I love that rock star. So shout out to Gardner Minshew. The next person we did lose hurt my heart, hurt me to the core. Zach Moss is gone. Not only is he gone? But he went to the Bengals. Out of all teams, that team is going to be so good. And they wind up losing Joe Mixon, but I think he's a good piece to have if you
Yeah, we're gonna
need
be seeing Joe
a
Mixon a lot.
if you,
So
yeah, we're going to be seeing him a lot, unfortunately. But if they need a powerful running back, I think Zach Moss is a good replacement. So he went to Cincy for 2 years at $8 million deal. Zach Moss does not get enough credit for what he has done in Indy, from where he came from in Buffalo to the spot and opportunity he got amid all the controversy with Jonathan Taylor and everything. Even the injuries, he stepped up and he did what he had to do. He was one of the best running backs in the league last year, man. He was a dog for the Colts. I loved his game. I love what he got, but it is Trey Sermon season in my books. You can argue with me all you want, take it with a grain of salt. I need Trey Sermon on the field, but we can get to that
of a
later.
whole season.
The whole season. So, but give me your thoughts on Zach Moss, man. He was a dog for me. He hurt my heart.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's very similar to like the Gardner Minshew situation, where like preferably you didn't want to see a ton of Zach Moss last year. Unfortunately, that's not the reality of the NFL, and so we got to see a lot of Zach Moss, especially early. And yeah, what a player! What a job he did, not only just in the running game, but to me, like the biggest aspect of what he did is something that not a lot of people discuss when they're talking about him was his pass pro. This guy, I mean, he was a dog in pass protection. Like he was fantastic, and that's going to hurt the Colts. If they don't have a guy that can replace that. Which, like I said, personally, I think Evan Hull is that guy. I think he's great in pass pro. So I'm excited to get him back out on the field. Um, but yeah, that's going to be a loss for them. And not only did he provide that, but like you were saying, he he was borderline leading the league in rushing for the first like month of the season, and he's been just one of those guys, just very quiet under the radar. He just goes out and does his job, and he does it at a high level. And so I'm excited that he was able to parlay that showing into a bigger contract. Um, I guess the comments speak more. Oh, here we go. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
speak more about the Gus. Yeah, we'll talk about that later. We got some sides to talk about.
You don't want me to get on that. We'll be here for 2 hours. Uh, but I mean, it's so cool to see because I'm always a players first guy. I want players to get paid and provide for their family. This is life-changing money for a lot of these guys. And it's really cool to see. It's a little bittersweet, but it's still cool to see that guys are able to come to Indianapolis, end up getting a chance to shine, and then they parlay that into bigger deals, whether re-signing with the Colts or moving on to a different situation for them. It's just it makes it that much more attractive for guys to want to come and play here, because they know, like, hey, if I sign a 1 year, 2 year deal with the Colts, and I go out there and I show that I can be a really good player in this league, they're going to give me money, or I'm going to get money from someone else. I'm going to get paid. And that makes the Colts, regardless of what people may think, it makes the Colts an attractive destination, for some of these guys that haven't quite lived up to their potential, like a Raekwon Davis type of guy. Um, so it does play its role, and I'm excited for Zach uh, to get a chance now. And that's going to be a big thing for Cincinnati. Is as we've seen Joe Burrow, he's dealt with a lot of injury issues. When you bring a guy like Zach Moss in who can pass pro the way he does, they're going to keep Joe Burrow upright. So that's the goal.
That is the goal. I don't want Colts fan to hate me, but I love Joe Burrow, and I feel like if he can get any type of help, they can go to the Super Bowl. That's just that simple. If he can get any type of help, they can go to the Super Bowl. So shout out
We've
to
seen it. We've seen it. The
we've
one
seen it.
year he
Yeah,
was the 1 year he's
they got
healthy, man.
manhandled, but it
They
was a
got
thought
there.
that counts. It was a thought that counts.
Yeah, they
So
got there. That's what the
and they
goal
got
is.
there early too. That was the crazy part. Super early into the dynasty. Super
Yeah.
early. So I mean, we'll see. But speaking of dynasty, right? The next signing, we have to talk about it. We got rid of we got rid of Uncle Rico, right? The Colts went out there and got Uncle Joe. Joe Flacco, the guy, the myth, the legend, the 39-year-old
Elite.
quarterback. Elite quarterback. Last year, Took the league by storm. Comeback player of the year, by the way. Credit to Joe Flacco. Took the Browns to the on a crazy run that nobody seen coming. Even though I did, because any quarterback in that roster is better than what they got. It is what it is. But Joe Flacco is in Indianapolis as a backup QB for a 1 year deal worth up to $8.7 million, including a $4.5 million guaranteed deal. Joe Flacco is backing up Anthony Richardson. I will say, having Joe Flacco on your roster in your locker room, even though, last year he had Minshew, that was his dog, teammate that worked out together, everything, but having a guy, Super Bowl champion, Joe Flacco on your roster that you can mentor from, I think it's a plus. I like it. Now, gameplay wise, if we got to put Joe Flacco on the field, I'm closing my eyes. But it is what it is at the end of the day. But he is a gunslinger. He can launch it. We got some players that can go out there and go get it. So maybe it might help us in the long run. But it is what it is. But let me get your thoughts on Joe Flacco.
Yeah. So with Joe, I think, and this is no slight to Gardner Minshew at all because of what he did and how, we're really grateful for him being able to step in and do that. But it's kind of why they signed Raekwon Davis too, because you saw what it looked like without Grover, and we saw what it looked, everything looked like without Anthony last year. And the explosive plays once Gardner Minshew came in were basically non-existent. He's good at what he does, but he just can't push the ball down the field. That's not what he does. And that really limits your ceiling as an offense when you can't hit those explosive plays. And the Colts were kind of built around that with Anthony Richardson. They're built around, maybe not a very high, sustainable rate of, third downs and all that, which is something that you kind of hope he's growing into. That's part of his development. But year one, they were really geared around, we might not be able to dink and dunk you down the field, but we're still going to put up 25, 30 points a game because there's going to be 2 or 3 plays a game where we just get loose. And, Anthony launches that thing down the field. He makes a spectacular run, all that kind of stuff. And you really saw the drop off in explosive plays. That's why I think Joe Flacco's here, not only, for the veteran presence, the Super Bowl experience, all the, great things he offers in the quarterback room, but his arm is still as live as anybody's. I mean, he still has a fantastic arm. We saw it last year, the explosive plays in Cleveland. Whenever he had to come in, and you pair that with a strong offensive line, a strong run game with Jonathan Taylor, and heaven forbid we ever have to see him touch a football next year. I don't want to see Joe Flacco play, but in the catastrophic event that we have to watch Joe Flacco play football last year, there's not going to be a drop off of explosion and explosive plays in the passing game, um, which is really kind of where I think they want to live at. That's where Shane Steichen thrives at. Is you know we saw so many times last year, even a guy like Alec Pierce who has his struggles, but we saw so many times last year, Alec Pierce 40 yards down the field going, and the ball is just not able to get there because of the limitations. Whereas now you're going to see that, hopefully they draft a receiver, fingers crossed. But you're still Alec Pierce will still play a vital role in this team, regardless if they do or not. You're going to see those type of plays where he's down there 40 yards down the field going, hey, I'm wide open. Joe Flacco's going to, boom, he's going to air that thing right out there. You want to talk about the real Uncle Rico, where it's like, I bet I can throw that ball over those mountains like Uncle Rico. Joe Flacco is that guy. He lives that life. He can throw the ball over the mountains. So, I hope we don't ever have to see him, but it was really a signing based off of, what the Colts lacked at the quarterback position last year and how they had to adapt their offense and run kind of what they complete polar opposite, and I mean, don't get it wrong. If you have to see him, you're still going to have to change the offensive structure. You're not going to be running read options and, all that kind of stuff with Joe Flacco, but you don't have to take the explosive element out of the game, whenever he's in, which is hopefully never.
I agree 100%. Hopefully, the dynamic changes with our backup quarterback situation. Gardner Minshew was a lot of rollouts, running around when you didn't have to. Joe Flacco's old, so I don't think he's going to be running for his life like that. So it might be a difference for sure. Definitely gunslinger wise, I'm pretty sure he's going to launch the ball if he ever steps on the field. But it is what it is. Happy to have you here, Uncle Joe. Let's see what you can do. Hopefully, you can get lock
No,
in with my guy.
let's not see what you can do. Let's not do that. I don't want to see what Joe Flacco can do. I don't
Okay.
want Joe Flacco to touch a football outside of practice.
Not even warm up. Just sit there and look pretty. Clipboard
Yeah,
manager. Yes. Clipboard
yeah.
Hall of Fame. That's what we call it. We call it the Clipboard Hall of Fame, man. You are
I want
hilarious.
him to have the easiest paycheck of his career this year. Just get
Oh my
paid your money
gosh.
and don't do shit.
I see you, Mikey. What's going on in the chat? Mikey Mendez. Appreciate you for coming through. Two other signings that we happen to bring back. Don't know the contract deals, but the Colts posted it. Ronnie Harrison Jr. and Trey Sermon that we just talked about. Trey Sermon's a dog. I would love for him to touch the football as much as he can because he is unstoppable running downhill. And Ronnie Harrison Jr., who had a tremendous season last year. Another person that don't get talked about was on the street, got called up, linebacker to safety, played in the position that was a ghost town on the field for the Colts defense. When he stepped on the field, first play, interception. I said, keep this man on the field. I said, keep him on the field. I've seen enough. And he didn't do it once, he did it twice. Man, Ronnie Harrison Jr. is a dog in my book. Alabama vet, out there, presence, athletic, can go out there and ball hawk. We need him on that field as much as possible. So when he got signed back, I was ecstatic. I loved the signing. Both of these signings in the same day, Ronnie Harrison Jr. and Trey Sermon. Colts was literally talking to me. They said, Culture Shock, we know how much you love these players, so we're gonna bring them back for you. So I appreciate bringing both of those guys back on the roster. What are your thoughts on both of those players?
Yeah, I mean they're good depth players for sure. Contrary to what you said, like I don't want to see Ronnie Harrison out there a ton. I'd prefer them to bring back, Blackman, which I don't know if that's going to happen. It doesn't look like it is, but they really need to upgrade that safety room like really bad. So hopefully, we see a signing, a vet signing with, some of the, because there's still really good options out there. Quandre Diggs, Justin Simmons, Marcus May. Like there's still some really good options out there for them to bring in. Even Blackman, he's not signed yet, so he could still return. They need to address that safety room. I'm not comfortable running out Harrison and Rodney Thomas next year. That scares me. But he's a guy, like you said, that if you need him to play in a pinch, whether due to injury in a game, somebody gets hurt, he's got a spot start here and there. I'm okay with that. That's perfectly fine. And those guys are really crucial. And he's crucial on special teams too. That's a big part of the game. So having, him out there for that as well. Yeah, they're good depth pieces. You need depth in this league. It's just the nature of the business. Guys are going to get hurt. Guys are going to go down. And you need guys that, while they're, Trey Sermon's not going to be Jonathan Taylor. Ronnie Harrison's not going to be Julian Blackman, or, I don't think he's as talented as, those guys. But if he has the play, you're not just sitting out there just absolutely crapping your pants, for lack of better words. If he's got to go out there, you're not, you're okay for a little bit. But I don't want him season long. I don't want him being the guy as a season long thing. The same way nobody wants Trey Sermon being the guy season long with Jonathan Taylor, on this team. So we'll see what happens.
We will definitely see. I still love you guys, Ronnie and,
Yeah,
and, and
yeah.
Trey.
No, I mean I still love. That's no slight to them. I mean,
It's no slight. It was just funny. You was like, no.
yeah, no, no, I'm good.
Yes,
I mean,
absolutely, absolutely.
I don't want to see Joe Flacco. I don't. I
You
don't
want
want
to
to
see your
see Trey
starters out
Sermon
there,
for a long
right?
period of times. I mean, I don't. You know,
Yeah, I don't think safety is that much of a panic. We have Nick Cross for strong safety and Rodney Thomas second. Is on his third year. We have Marcel Dabo, Danny Scott, and I'm sure we still have Dembo.
that's the name. Now, I will say safety is that much of a panic. I mean,
Hmm.
we that's I mean, we saw it last year in the Houston game.
Right.
Everybody, everybody craps on the big Nico Collins play. The first play of the game, touchdown, boom. That wasn't on
That
the that was not on the
that wasn't
quarterback.
on the
That was
safeties.
on
Yeah,
safety. That was
yeah.
on the safety. The safety, blew the coverage, and that's why that didn't happen. So yeah, safety to me is still a massive need on this team. It might be the single biggest need on this team, um, to me personally.
Hmm.
So, but I will say, watch out. That's a guy we didn't get to see last year, Daniel Scott. Which, if you
Hmm.
watch our pre-draft coverage and our
Even at the
breakdown of
draft.
prospects, that's a guy. I said, me and Jack said, we're like, this is the single most Chris Ballard guy in this entire draft,
Hmm.
and they ended up drafting him. Unfortunately, he got hurt during training camp, but he's a really talented guy. Um, that I think could make an impact at safety, especially on special teams. He will, but I do think if he is fully recovered, I think he can have an impact on safety. But I still think they need that top of the line starter. Nick Cross, we still don't know what he is at a consistent level. He's had splash plays, but he just hasn't played well in a consistent role, and you just need that in this league. Rodney Thomas is the same thing. I mean, we saw the first year he played really well. Last year was kind of a mess. So you don't really know what you're getting going into this third season. And I think if you're just relying on those guys, like both these guys are going to hit. They're both going to make jumps. I think you're playing with a lot of fire, and that's not somewhere I like to live. I don't like to live in the gray. I want black or white. Um, whenever I'm thinking about stuff like that. So, uh, yeah, that's just kind of my spiel on that. Is what it is, but
100% agree. I 100% agree. Um, Another guy that we got to talk about. This was 2 days ago. The Colts brought back Danny Pinter, center for the Colts. He was gone for an ankle injury. I think he has a lot of upside and potential for sure when he steps on the field. We don't know, but our starting center days are numbered for sure. We don't know how long he's going to play. But we know Danny Pinter out there is a good pivotal piece. What's your thoughts on Danny Pinter coming back healthy next year?
yeah, well, I mean, I think as long as he's another guy, I mean, you could at this. I'm gonna give you the same spill. Um, depth is crucial in this league. You need good depth. I don't want to see Danny Pinter starting for a prolonged period of time. I would like Ryan Kelly out there. Um, but you need that depth in case something happens. I mean, we've seen Ryan Kelly get banged up before, miss a few games here and there. He's a guy that I think personally, like, I think he's almost strictly a center at this point. We've seen the kind of experiment at guard and stuff like that, and it has not gone well. He has not been great at guard, but I do think as a center, he can hold anchor the line as a center and still give you some good snaps and good minutes. Um, you know, Hopefully you're not playing him for a prolonged period of time throughout the season. You'd much rather have Ryan Kelly and Quentin Nelson and Will Fries and those guys in there. And I think if he has to play guard, you're in a little bit of trouble. But I do think as a center, he has shown that he can be a really good player at that position. So yeah, I think having him back is going to be. Hopefully it doesn't happen, but if we have to see him there at center, if Ryan Kelly goes down, like I said, you're not going to be crapping your pants too much.
We're just gonna pray because this year's division is something that I am not prepared to see from what I'm looking at on paper. But it is what it is at the end of the day. Now we got to talk about the elephant in the room, the situation that has the Colts fans on the frenzy. You've been
Oh
in
God.
Florida, so I'm gonna pick you up on speed. You have seen it in our elite chat. Shout out to the elite fans. Jerry Sneed
Oh,
has to be a Colt. Of course, everyone thinks that. But the conversations is going back and forth. One source says this, another source says that. Colts fans don't know who to believe. They've been in a war choosing sides. There's been strays thrown. Do not throw strays at sources. We all do not know the legit information because nobody knows what's happening. But Jerry Sneed, make up your mind, please. If you stay in Kansas City, I understand that's the closest thing you get to winning the championship. You are a dog, but you need to make your mind up. Shout out to the agent. Let me get your thoughts on the Sneeze situation and the whole Colts thing.
oh boy. Okay. So, as you know, I don't do the sources thing. I don't do it. I don't want to live in that
It's
world.
not a source.
No, no, I don't like it. That doesn't mean I don't talk to people. But I don't put it out there because of this exact reason, where we have people getting death threats and we have people getting, their families dragged into this and people's credibility being quite, I mean, it's a disaster. And like, I mean, it's a game. Like, I know we all love the Colts. That's why we do this. They make us feel good or bad, a lot of the time bad, but they do make us feel good. We love this team. But at the end of the day, it's a game. It's a kids game. This is what we play as children growing up. It has no impact on our real world. Real world. The Colts don't pay my bills. The Colts don't, tuck me into bed at night like a baby, like my wife does. Um, the Colts don't give me as much happiness as little Danny here. Um, it's we're
Oh,
talking.
little Danny Pinter.
No, it's actually her. It's actually Daenerys, like off as Daenerys Targaryen. I just call her Dan for short, but because she's the mother of dragons. Um, but I mean, look, there's stuff that went on last week that was notified that never made it out, into the open. The Colts, breaking news. I'll give you a little breaking news, little sources here. They were very, very, very close to getting Xavier McKinney, like very, and they got outbid. I mean, they had a big contract offer in for him. Like, so everybody's like bargain bin Ballard and all this. They were offering him a ton of money, and they got outbid at the last second by Green Bay, who offered 17 million a year. It was a last second thing, and he ended up going to Green Bay. Danielle Hunter, they were very, very, very close to getting Danielle Hunter. And at the last second, he decided, this is Danielle Hunter, he decided to take less money, not more. He took less to go home to Houston, which is where he is from. It's where he grew up.
Homesick, yep.
There's nothing you can do about that. The L'Jarius Sneed thing. We'll get into this now. The L'Jarius Sneed. I don't know who's said what. I don't know who's talked to this person or talked to this person. But I'll say this: the report. I will say this about Adam Schefter because he broke the luck news and all that. The report that he put out that there had been no discussions or anything, that's BS. They talked. I will put it like they talked. It never transpired far enough because of the money he was asking for to where there was an offer made, everything's confirmed and agreed to, which also, by the way, is not what Destin said. He did not say it was a done deal, that everything was 100%. And I'll say that as well. I think both sides in this Holder, Destin, whoever picking sides, I think they're both correct in a way. Holder wasn't wrong with what he was saying. A deal was not agreed to. A deal never really got super close, as far as all that happened. But Destin was also correct, where there were discussions. They were working on stuff. It just never materialized at the last second because Sneed wanted more. He wants to be the highest paid cornerback, in the league. He wants 22 million a year per reports, from what I've been told. 22 million per year. And there were also some external factors. There's a lot of worry about, his knee even in Kansas City. That's why they haven't, you don't necessarily want to pay him 22 million a year, because there's some medical concerns with his knee, which is partly why he dropped in the draft process. moving forward. And the worst thing you want to do is pay a guy that much money. He comes in, plays, for 1 or 2 years, and then is always hurt, and then you end up with an egg on your head. You look like an idiot. So, I mean, this narrative that the Colts, they're not doing anything, they're not trying to sign any of these guys. They've been very close on at least two guys I know of, that just it didn't work out, and that's just the nature of things. There's nothing they can do about Green Bay coming in last second offering 17. And I mean, like, what, you want to pay 18, $19 million a year for a safety? Like, is that what you guys want? I mean, me personally, that's not a like I said, that's not a world I want to live in. I mean, 15 was like my max, like that I would have went. Hint, hint. That's about as high as I would have wanted to go. 15 million per year. Um, I wouldn't want to go past that mark. Somebody went past that mark. That's where he went. Daniil Hunter, you're right there. You're that close. And then he says, you know what? I'm going to take a little bit less money, no state taxes in the state of Texas, and I'm going to go home. I just want to go home. So that's what he does. And that doesn't mean the Colts weren't there. That doesn't mean they weren't trying. That doesn't mean nothing has been done. And with the Sneed thing, both guys are kind of saying the same thing, just in different ways. They're both not, Destin's not wrong. You're talking about, and this is a problem that we have in this country, and I'm not going to get on this tangent, but Destin Adams has been right on so many things, so many breaking news stories. Him and Shad, for like at least a couple years, I can remember a year back, they were giving you guys info before anybody was breaking it, and they were right every time. And you're talking about this guy has broke 100 stories, and he's been right on every single one. And the one time he might not get something 100% exact, now everybody's going to turn on him like he's just some unreliable source and doesn't know what he's talking about once. And so you build all that equity and all those years, doing such a fantastic job. And one thing, and everybody's just killing him for it. I just don't get it. It's stupid. Be nice. Be nice.
Amen. Amen. I agree 100%, man. Y'all got to be more nice out there. I mean, I know y'all uneasy and impatient, especially when it comes to off-season time and the Colts
And I
trying
and
to
I
make a
get it.
big splash. You know,
I
it's
get it.
normal.
It's year 8. We
Right.
haven't won a division in a decade. I get it.
Exactly.
I get it. I'm as frustrated as anybody out there. I get it. Um, but at the same time, like I was saying, there's no reason to go out and attack people, personally, like, threaten them physically and tell them that they need to kill themselves and like all this other just BS. Like, you're talking about somebody's real life going after their family and their kids. And I mean, it's uncalled for and it's stupid. It's stupid. Grow up.
Literally. 100% agree. But to before we end things off, would you love to have Legarius Sneed on the roster?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Who wouldn't? Um, I mean, he's one of the best cover corners in football. I mean, I would
I
be an
mean, we got
idiot if
Tony
I said
Brown. I
no.
mean, I don't know. That's a good debate.
Uh,
Tony Brown
yeah,
has got it, you know?
yeah, I would love Legarius Sneed on this roster. I don't think it's going to happen. I mean, I think that's pretty consistent everywhere at this point. That it's very unlikely to happen, mainly because his contract demands. I mean, like if Legarius Sneed sat down with the Colts last week and said, "I'll take 17 to 18 million dollars a year," I think he would be a Colt right now. I really do. But the fact, I mean, 22 million a year,
That's a lot of money.
that's a lot. And and as you see around the league right now, it's
They
not
eat the
just the
Titans.
Colts it ain't just the Colts that are sitting here saying like, no, we're not going to do that.
Yeah,
Nobody is comfortable with that. And that's why
right.
he's still in Kansas City. And I think Kansas City is comfortable as well. This is part of the thing. Kansas City is comfortable saying like, hey, you know what? we're going to go for a three-peat, just play on the tag, make your 20, 21 million a year, come back for a three-peat, and then he'll hit free agency next year and he'll be able to go out and sign his own deal.
Hmm.
I don't think he's getting tagged next year. So I think Kansas City is comfortable with him coming back. He's comfortable playing. He wants to be in Kansas City.
Right.
They're just not willing to offer him a long-term deal worth that much money.
That's fair.
Um, and I don't think anybody else is comfortable offering him a deal worth that much money. And we'll see what happens on the open market. Do I see us signing anyone else? Yes. Yes, I do. I don't think they're going to go into the draft without it. I don't think they're going to add a corner. Now, don't quote me on that. It could
Oh no
happen.
no no no. This is just thoughts.
Like I said, I don't get into like Landon said this is going to happen. That's not what's happening. But I think they are more comfortable with their cornerback room than what everybody else is. For better or worse, that's
Hmm.
just, you know,
Very
tea
athletic
leaves
room,
and
but
stuff like that. Well, I think, they think, Juju Brents, he didn't have an off season last year. He
right.
was rehabbing. I think
Hmm.
they think he's fully healthy. He goes through a full off season. He's going into year 2. He'll take a step forward. Getting Dallas Flowers back, who they are very high on.
So am
They
I.
love they love Dallas Flowers. They think he's going to be a really good player. Getting him back, they think that's going to be an improvement. Jones going into his second year, they think
Dog.
that's going to be an improvement. Getting Kenny back, that's going to be an improvement. I think they like their cornerback room more than everybody else. And I don't think that's saying they won't add one. If they do add one, maybe it's in the draft. I just don't think you're going to see a vet in that. Where I do think they will address, I think it'll be safety, especially if Blackman ends up going somewhere else. That's to me the weakest room in this roster is I
As long as
in
it's not the
safety.
AFC South.
And luckily for us, there's a lot of talented guys out there. I think Quandre Diggs, there's something going on there.
They all was in
Yeah,
Texas.
yeah,
Heard reports.
everybody was in Texas yesterday. They were all right there together. Who
Like
knows?
they like I
That's
would
what
I would have
she's
pushed
saying.
them out like
They're
talk.
just reading between the lines. Yeah, like I mean, the coach, the GM,
The scout.
every, Quandre is there. I mean, come on. Um, so I mean, maybe that's an option. Justin Simmons, they've talked to. There's been conversations with his camp. Um, even like I said, Marcus May's still out there. I'd have to go through the list, but like there's a few guys that are still out there.
Yeah, I had the list
So,
the other day. I don't know where I put it.
so I mean, but that's where I think the signing will come. I think it'll be in the safety room, and I think they feel comfortable with their corner room. And I know a lot of fans don't. Personally, like I said earlier, I mean, if you're banking on all these guys to take a step forward, you're playing with a lot of fire. I don't want to live in the gray area. I would rather feel comfortable when I sleep at night. I don't like counting my eggs before they hatch. And I think that's been the biggest issue for me with the Ballard area is I think he just has a little too much faith in
Hmm.
some of these guys, which is never a bad thing. You want to have faith in your guys, but you also just kind of want to be a little bit realistic. Are we likely to see huge jumps from Jones, Flowers coming off an Achilles injury, Brent? Are all these guys just going to magically hit all pro? It's possible. Who knows? It's football. You never know. I'm not counting on that happening. Just personally. So I would like to see some more talent added to that room. But yes, safety is like I'm terrified right now of the safety room. Terrified.
Oh, I found it. So I have the list here. I'm gonna pull it up to see if everybody can see it. Gus Bradley in the same team is not a good look. There's nothing wrong with Gus Bradley. I think he plays less. I don't know. I don't know. What's your thoughts on Gus Bradley in the system going into next season?
What's my thoughts on Gus Bradley going into
Yeah.
next season?
Uh huh.
I mean,
Be as nice as possible.
I think the biggest thing last year, which I gave them credit for, was I did see them change to their personnel.
Hmm.
They tried a few different things to get this defense going. Um, and they weren't just out there like normal, like we're going to run this and only this. And, if it's not working, oh, well, we're going to keep running it. They did try some different things. And so
Right.
I think that's good. And continuity is always good in the league. Everybody's now going into their third year of this defensive scheme. They're going to be able to play that much faster. That's really the whole reasoning behind it. But my thoughts on personally with Gus Bradley, I don't. It's not that I don't like him as a coach. I think he's very good as a teacher. I think
Right.
he's a very underrated teacher um and all that. But I mean, unless you've got Richard Sherman and Earl Thomas and Cam Chancellor and all those guys on the back end, like that scheme is outdated. It's not creative.
Hmm.
It's very basic. There's
Right.
no disguising things. It's terrifying. It's not what I want to play. It's very bend but don't break. And the Colts have, routinely played that. But we've seen the Colts play that with Hall of Fame players,
Right.
Dwight Freeney, Robert Mathis, these guys who are, Bob Sanders, these guys are Hall of Fame caliber players, and um, I just don't like it. It's almost like you're terrified. You're playing scared almost, and
Hmm.
I hate playing scared. I'm much more of a like what Baltimore does. Not necessarily in like the 3-4, 4-3, whatever, but like a very multiple attacking, disguising,
Right.
your coverages and you don't know what's coming and it's very confusing. And if you have the edge rushers, if you can just make a quarterback just think for just a second. I mean, that's all it takes. Just a
That's
second.
funny.
And that could be all it takes, and I don't think there's enough of that. So going into year 3, we'll see. I'm very open-minded. I'm not gonna sit here and say, like, the world's ending, gloom and doom, everything's screwed, the Colts are gonna
On
win
top of the
4
mountain.
yeah, 4 games, we're only gonna win 4 games next year, like, who I mean, I don't know. Like, if I'm being honest, nobody knows. I mean,
No, that's true.
if you do know, if you know the future, put a bet in, bro. Like, retire. Like,
Come on, Doc. Great Scott.
yeah, I
Daniel
mean, like,
Scott.
go Shohei Ohtani, man. Like throw that money down
Oh
and,
my God.
I mean, just go ahead and retire. Like, but me personally, I don't know. I don't know how it's gonna turn out. I can give you an educated guess, but,
Hmm.
I think it'll be probably about the same as last year. I think you're probably gonna have some decent production on the pass rush side of things. I like the pass rush a little bit more than what I'm not a huge, like, Quiddy guy, but I really like Dio. I really like, Ebukam and Grover and of course Buckner. I think defensive line is really good. I think if Quiddy Pay for whatever reason, if I think he needs to be the guy to take that next step. If he does, you're cooking with gas on that D line.
Hmm.
You are. Um, but I'm terrified of the back end, just like last year. I'm scared of it. Um, and yeah, I think you're probably gonna have a little bit similar year of last year um where we'll see. But it's only 2 weeks. We're only 2 weeks in.
Yeah.
Uh,
There's
you
still a
know,
lot of players on there out
so
there, as you can see
yes,
from this
so
list.
yeah. Here we go. Let's look at the same. I mean, Justin Tashawn Gibson's out there, Quandre
Yeah.
Diggs, Marcus May, Micah
Micah
Hyde's still
Hyde.
out
I
there,
love Michael Hyde.
Eddie Jackson's out there.
Hmm.
So Adrian Amos out there. There's still some guys that are out there. That I think can come in and give you a valuable veteran presence. And there's even some like I mean, Quandre Diggs, that's an upgrade. Like
Right.
you're getting better. Justin Simmons, you're getting better. Like you're not just coming in for veteran presence. Like these are guys that have played at Pro Bowl, all pro levels last year, the year before. Like these are really, really good, level players. Stephon Gilmore is still out there. Maybe he's coming
Yeah,
back.
I see Rocky Sin
Tre'Davious
out there
White's
too.
out there. Xavier Howard's out there. There's Rocky Sin. Maybe he comes back. I mean, who knows? There's a lot of things that can still happen. Just to completely write this team off 2 weeks in. So we'll see what happens. Like I said, I don't think they're done making moves. I don't. The draft is still to come,
Oh
which, as we
yes,
know,
very deep
if there
draft.
is one thing Ballard generally does well, it is in the draft. He's got his problem positions, like everybody, where he doesn't have a high hit rate on. But I think majority of the time, um, the guys he drafts in some form become productive players. So, and the Colts are in a good spot in the draft. I mean, they're in a really
Very
good
good
spot with
spot.
this in this draft to have some really good players fall down to them. Personally, I want them to go offensive side of the ball.
Hmm.
I even tweeted it out earlier because the new hip drop tackle thing,
Oh my
that
gosh,
I think that's guard. So I
that
mean,
was so
like if you're not
crazy.
going to let these guys play defense, like like why are we putting money into the defense? Like let's just go all offense, straight 2004, 2006, Colts. Let's just drop 45 on everybody's head. Let's just pour everything into the offense and let's just cook on
We was
offense. But they're
close
not
to
going
it
to let you
last
play
year. We was
defense.
scoring like 30, 20,
Yeah,
30 a
yeah.
game.
I mean, like they're not going to let you play defense. So I mean, let's just
So we don't play
go all
defense
offense.
anyway. So
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, who cares? We had the 28th ranked D in the year last year. We won 9 games.
they're doing
So
us a favor.
yeah, I mean, let's just go all offense. I want to see points. I want to drop
Oh my
48.
gosh. Uh, Somebody's parlay is gonna go crazy next year. I could just see it now.
Let Shane cook.
Let Shane cook. He's been cooking, man. He's gonna cook even more when he get more weapons. I'm looking forward to this draft, man. I'm excited. I know you're excited as well. But that's pretty much all we got
Yeah.
for you guys. We appreciate all the 600 people for tuning in today. Shout out to y'all. Y'all are some legends. Appreciate y'all. Follow us on all platforms. Y'all see the names. Y'all know where to find us. We appreciate y'all. Play like it's an NBA All Star game. I know, right? It's crazy. But that's all we got for you guys. Stay tuned. Turn on your notice when we drop something else. We appreciate you. You guys enjoy the rest of your night. Get some rest. And prepare for Friday. Tomorrow's Friday. Prepare for your weekends. Guys, get some rest, man. We'll see you guys next time. Hopefully, when you wake up, there's a deal done with somebody. But we'll see. But you guys tune in. Have a good one.